So this is week 3 of our soul searching series. We've officially reached our unity talk. So this is a good one. We're going to talk a little bit about David. We've talked about the Sabbath. We've talked about rest and the fact that our souls were designed by God and will only find true rest in Sabbath with Him. We've also talked about ownership last week, where a healthy soul requires work. So we have to figure out that we are responsible for how we grow and how far we really go in our walk with God. So if we go back to creation, it was very interesting. You have God create everything, including Adam, and life as we know it is perfect. There is no things such as sickness or death, no wild animals, no fire ants or mosquitoes, especially yellow jackets. Nothing could have been better at this point in life. However, God looks at Adam and tells him something. He tells him that he wasn't designed, it wasn't good for him to be what? Anybody know? Genesis 2:18. Alone. Good job. Good job. He's there. It's all right. You have some help? I'll take it. Your phone, friend. Then the Lord said, "It's not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper who is just right for him." So, here's the fun teeter-totter balance for tonight. We all in this room need each other. Whether we really like it or not, sometimes we need each other. I tell you that to begin with because I'm also going to tell you the other side of something. I'll try to tell you this, and this is completely free. Won't charge you a thing. Some of you are way too concerned in this room about what so many people at your school think about you. And the reason why I tell you that, as much as you need each other in community as believers, the outside of that says that we spend so much time worried about what people think. So let me tell you on a show of one hand tonight, the amount of people that I associate with beyond my high school years. 16 years later. I can't believe I revealed that. 16, 17 years later. There's going to be a lot of people in your life currently that matter, that won't matter in 3 years, 5 years, 6 years. However, we still need each other in this room tonight. And here's why. This idea of unity, you guys had to be unified in your 3-legged and your 5-legged races. You got better as you were holding on and unified together with your blankets, with this idea of volleyball. And you had a strategy and had to come together. Anybody fall over? I think Josiah fell into the wall. You showed right over there. We were good together. Concussions. You're not going to get CTE on me, go crazy. Good deal. All right. Good deal. The verse actually tells us a lot about value, community, companionship. But it basically tells us this idea of what we've been talking about even on Sunday mornings. Marriage is a part of God's original design. Adam was still not supposed to be alone. He needed a helpmate. He needed a teammate. That's why I showed you guys the film there. They had a rough go at it. If you watch, remember the Titans, they had a rough go at it to start with in training camp before they came together, before they figured it out that they were unified for a purpose. Healthy relationships help keep our souls healthy. King David would have 2 of those that I want to touch on. We're not going to read their whole story. I don't have time tonight to take you through the entire book of 1st and 2nd Samuel. 1st and 2nd Samuel tonight. But know this. David, even as being anointed king, had a rough relationship with Saul, the king. How would you like it to know that you were in power as a king, and then you had a young guy coming up that had been anointed, God had taken his hand off of you, and it was just a matter of time before David would take the throne. However, if you know anything about biblical times, you've seen kind of shows that have to do with kingdoms and monarchs and all that kind of good stuff. Blood, and that idea of blood, first blood, or a son in particular, matters. Saul had a son. He had a son named Jonathan that was supposed to be taking the throne, and Jonathan's attitude about this whole thing really spoke volumes, and it helped David tremendously, to the point where we see Jonathan save David's life. This is 1 Samuel 20, verse 42. Go in peace, for we have sworn friendship with each other in the name of the Lord, saying, the Lord is a witness between you and me, and between your descendants and my descendants forever. Real friends truly look out for one another. What I haven't told you just yet is this happens after incidents happen between Saul and David, where he's literally trying to kill David in the palace. He throws a spear at him. They're having the ultimate ego match about the number of people. After Goliath gets killed, David kills Goliath with who's slain the number of people that in battle, that sort of thing. So you have the ultimate guy ego match going on. Saul knows his days are limited. Jonathan realizes his own father is trying to kill David and makes it a point to get David out of there. Why did Jonathan do that? Because he was a true friend, united in the friendship they had. They had a bond growing up in the palace together. They went on the battlefield together eventually, and he knew, even though that he had a chance by blood to be king, he knew that the purpose was different. They were united in a friendship. The decision to help David not only went against his father and could have cost him his life, but it went against human nature. Why would you not want to be king? If you knew someone tonight was going to try to kill your friends, naturally your reaction would hopefully be that you would want to help them out, right? We all say that. Hopefully, if you're truly a friend of someone in this room tonight, or someone outside this room, when you think about your friends, we all want to say the right things. When we get to Jonathan and David's life, we see not just words, but actions put into words. They're united in their friendship. He had an opportunity here to go against anything that they originally had decided on and still be king. That wasn't the purpose. So he gets David out of there. And hopefully, if you think through your life tonight, maybe you haven't got to that level yet. Maybe that's college for you. For me, it was. You will gain a couple of friends in this life that you could call in a moment's instance, and they will do anything for you. That's the kind of friendship Jonathan and David had. It doesn't matter if it's in the middle of the night. It doesn't matter how far you are. They will do what it takes to help you out in a jam. They had that kind of bond. And I'm going to challenge you as believers in this room tonight to be a Jonathan to others. You need the Jonathans in your life, but first you've got to learn to be one. And that's hard, because I just told you that there's going to be a lot of people that you're too worried about right now that think about you that aren't going to matter after you graduate high school. There's still going to be a few that you can weed out, and you know who they are. Or you need a new set of friends, and that's okay too. Fast forward in David's life, David is now king. He has it all. He is ultimately a great warrior. He's a great king. He's going to have crazy issues going on with his eventual family. But David decides to stay behind one day during the war. Foolish move on his part. David's got a solid friend, in this case known as Nathan the prophet. A prophet that God would directly speak to, and he would go and tell David what God said. And after Jonathan helped David run off, David ultimately finds Bathsheba. One day when he's behind, the men have gone off to war. And if you know the story, things go south fast. She's got a husband. It's an ultimate drama tale that would make great ABC primetime show work today. Sees her on the roof bathing. Why do they do that? Simply, it's easier, and it's custom times that if you're out there, you are normally in the evening time that you would do that kind of thing. But he takes her as his own wife at the hands of killing off one of his best soldiers to do it. He's not thinking about any kind of friendships with Uriah here. He's going to go on to be called a man after God's own heart. But he's certainly at this point not really acting like it. Has anyone in this room ever made mistakes they regret? Anybody? We got one honest person in here. Anybody ever made a mistake? Anybody ever made a mistake and tried to cover it up? Yeah, and made it worse? That's exactly what happened to David in his life. The mistake was simply there. After Uriah comes home, he sends him back to the front lines, right at the most dangerous point of the battle to get killed. And it's Nathan who has to come in and share what he's done. But I want to show y'all a little bit of something. This always puts a little bit of perspective in for me. You're going to make mistakes in this life. You're going to make mistakes that you try to cover up. You'll make mistakes that are small ones that you think are big, and if you leave them alone and allow whoever it is that's involved in the mistake to come back and to connect together back, to be united in a friendship like Jonathan and David had, it will be a small mistake on the grand scheme of your life if you'll simply just leave it alone. There's others that if you have to address, so if you let them fester too long, they'll become bigger. Let's say it's a big mistake. Let's say Josiah goes off Friday night and he grabs the keys to Rebecca's car. I'm going to use an example. That's never going to happen because you're not getting her keys. So you have to steal them. You have to go in her room, figure it out, whatever goes on there. And let's just say you get really excited listening to whatever band you got on your MP3 player. We don't do radio and all that kind of good stuff. So however you're listening to music, maybe you got it on your phone, you got headphones on. That's illegal in the state of Georgia, by the way, don't do that. You're distracted. Distracted drivers die. So you know. And you wreck the car. And you decide to drive it over to a friend's house and hide it out for the weekend. This keeps getting worse, right? Do what?
It's good so far.
She doesn't know she's off for the weekend with her friends. How's that? Better off. So you got a few days to figure it out. But you guys don't know a mechanic, and you broke. So that's two things not working out for you, right? How you going to play this one? You going to be upfront and honest with her when she gets back for the weekend? You park the car not only to hide it from her, but to hide it from mom and dad.
Oh.
So now we've got them involved too. Lydia is oblivious. No idea. This has happened before. Has this happened before?
No.
I did not know this.
Not yet.
Okay, not yet. No, not after this. No, you need to be upfront. You need to be honest. But no, you decide to tell her that you had car trouble getting over to your buddy to play video games, and you have no idea what's wrong with it, and it just died in the driveway. And so it just sits there. She's going to want to know where it is on Sunday when she gets back, and you're going to keep lying to her about, well, I got a mechanic coming out who's going to try to tow it. You guys might have AAA, and that, they're going to tell you they're going to be there in 30 minutes, and it's going to be all day kind of thing. And it's AAA. 3 hours later, AAA might or may not come, might get lost on the GPS, that sort of thing. It's going to get worse for you if you don't come clean.
Yeah.
It took Nathan coming before David to tell him that God knew what he had done for David to come clean in this situation. If we're not careful, in our lives we will look at the dots. We'll look at all the dots, all of the mistakes that we make. See, we've got some good ones. That may be the car, or that may be one in college you make. I don't know, maybe the car's up here. A little bigger one, which you think at the time it's really, really big, right? So here's the problem. You see all the dots, you see the dots, some of the dots are bigger, some of them are smaller, they're all over the place in the grand scheme of your life. Where's the rest of this stuff? It's blank. It's just blank. You can either focus on the mistakes of your life and dwell on them, try to make them bigger, make you sick thinking about them, or you can simply have a moment that David has because of Nathan, and you come back to God and repent for what you've done and fix it and focus more on the white stuff, because the white stuff is not your mistakes, it's the rest of your life. There's a lot of white here. There's several mistakes you're going to make throughout life, but there's a whole lot more white on the grand scheme of the board of your life than there is the mistakes. 1 Samuel chapter 2, 7 through 9. This is what the Lord God of Israel says. I anointed you king over Israel. I delivered you from the hand of Saul. I gave your master's house to you and your master's wives into your arms. I gave you all of Israel and Judah. And if all of this has been too little, I would have given you more. Why did you despise the word of the Lord by doing such an evil thing in my eyes? Real friends have your back, and that also means that real friends recognize your failures. Not only do you need to be a Jonathan so that you can have Jonathans in your life, you need to be a Nathan to people from time to time so that you can have Nathans in your life. Real friends who will call out your crap, because you need it. You need it from time to time. You need friends like Nathan, friends who will look out for you, encourage you, and let you grow in your faith. But be careful, especially in the day and age of everyone calling it, and you judge your life and you judge mine. Paul tells us to do this. Dear brothers and sisters, if any believer is overcome by some sin, you who are godly should be gentle and humble and help that person back onto the right path. Be careful not to fall into the same temptation yourself. Share each other's burdens. That way you can all obey the law of Christ. If you're going to call out someone, then hopefully you will do it in the most gentle and humble way. As a believer, we want restoration above anything else. That's the end goal. So let me give you a few practical steps. How can you be a Jonathan to those around you? We want all those Jonathans. We want people to look out for us. You ultimately have to ask those kinds of questions. You can be a Jonathan, and you have to be honest to ask people how much of a friend you really are, and expect them to criticize you one way or the other. If you know you've got some growing in that department, choose to be a better friend. What would it take for you to become more selfless, a better listener, or more sacrificial in your friendship? Are all of your friends tonight just people you can get something from? It's not the way it's designed to be. How can you be a Nathan to your friends, willing to call people out, but willing to do it in the most humble and gentle way? Hopefully, you have people that will do that for you. But if we consider the possibility that each of us needs to be corrected and rebuked like David, maybe our board tonight has a little more brown dots than normal at this stage. We all tend to make a mess out of our lives, and God's grace, thankfully, is the only thing that can put it back together. Be a friend. Be a friend that you need the most. Because if you can be the same person to each and every person that you encounter at school, then you don't have to remember which person you were to this person and that person to get it wrong one day. Be yourself. Be yourself. Be a friend. Pray for God to bring you a Jonathan. Pray that He would bring you a Nathan. But choose to be one first and see how God can reward you by bringing other people that you need in your life. I hope that you'll find Jonathans and Nathans here inside of this student group here. But if not, God is going to bring them when you need them and when you need them the most. Be a Jonathan, be a Nathan, be a friend the best you can be. With the mistakes you will make, know that God's grace covers all of that. And know that those mistakes that look so big in your life, God sees them in a different view when He sees us as believers. We truly do need each other, even when we advance till next week as we talk through limits. We'll talk about just as much about the fact that we're limited by what we see and do in our senses, and why we continue to need each other. But let me pray for you really quick.